And we're back. I'm Bill Hellkamp of Reach Development Systems, and with me is the talented Professor Scott Plum of the Minnesota Sales Institute.
Very kind. For most of us, 2020 will go down as a year of adaptation. Some goals were met, others abandoned. Without options, we feel helpless, which leads to hopeless, a terrible state. Based on your current outcomes, what goals will you commit to next year, next week, or even tomorrow? Let's start a wish list of the areas in your life you want to transform as Bill and I discuss goal setting and much more on episode 437 of Get in the Door podcast.
Well, we're going to start the podcast off today with our book club. We are reading Beyond Selling Value by Mark Shanka and Dan Kosh. And I think, Scott, we may have only 1 or 2 copies of that to give away yet.
Oh, my.
And we do have another book by them that we'll bring up. So we have about 7, 8 copies of that as well. So a lot more giveaways in the future for you. If you want to sign up, just go send us a note at getinthedoorpodcast.com. Today, we're on chapter 10 of Beyond Selling Value, and this is kind of the core of what I would say is the core of their teaching in this, because it's your moment in the sun of the business presentation. So if we look at that and track this along, we've had a lot of discussions with our coaches. We've learned about the business. We found out that we maybe didn't get to the right decision maker early on. And now there's somebody in the chain of command we finally got a meeting with. And this is the key decision maker in the program. And so we want to make sure that we're talking about business needs and not just product needs. So here's the 6 premises that they talk about that need to be in place or that we need to remember as we go into this business presentation. Number 1, senior leaders form relationships based on what you know about them, not what you know about the product. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's so true. I think it's important to focus on the problem and not necessarily the solution.
Right. And I think that's we got that from the Challenger sale, right? We need to say, we're bringing something to you in this presentation, not just, hey, here's my product. Isn't it great?
Right, exactly.
Number 2, this meeting with the senior leader is the most important event in your sales process.
This is what they all build up to. And
Right.
It's not only a senior leader. I think it's other people that are involved in the purchase. Sometimes it can be the end user, and the senior leaders want to be able to provide the resources to the end users. And the senior leaders are going to make the decisions based on the end user's recommendation or preferences or what they require. So it's not
quite often
about just the decision maker making it. It's involving the internal people. And this is part of the Challenger sale, is that companies are starting to make decisions based internally on what other people are submitting.
Which means that at this business meeting, at this business presentation, you probably will have not just the senior leader there, the decision maker, but a number of people.
Exactly.
Number 3, 1 chance to make a good first impression. This is your shot.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Nope. Okay. Number 4, you need access to the decision maker, and so you need to be good enough to get an invitation. Meaning not just one-time access to this decision maker, but you need to be good enough that they want to work with you long-term.
And getting permission from them to talk to other people that may be involved in the decision too.
Excellent point.
And get that transparency within the company. And if you ask permission from the decision maker to send an email to the other folks saying, this person's involved in working with us to deal with this challenge or et cetera, please feel free to share information with them. And in most cases, a sales rep will have a non-disclosure or an NDA or something like that, where that information is kept internally, and people don't feel like they're embarrassing somebody by sharing a problem within a company in a current situation, and they're being transparent. So you need that as a salesperson, because if you misprescribe the solution, you're going to create a bigger problem.
Absolutely. And I think the important thing is that you are acknowledging that there's a bigger decision here than just one person is going to make, that the team, as you said, the new way of making decisions isn't just the leader. They want to bring the whole team in.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, the business presentation is your best shot at getting that invitation to come back.
I think there's a lot of pressure on the presentation. I think, Bill, you really stressed the importance of doing a discovery or a real strong interview step of getting information before doing the presentation. I think sometimes we put too much pressure on the presentation when we should be putting more pressure and more focus on the questioning process and getting all the information. Am I old school in that, or?
No, but I think what they're saying is this is the culmination now of that discovery step. There's a point in the sales process, Scott, that you well know, where
Mm-hmm.
you have to take and integrate all the information and say, here is our solution.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this business presentation is. Now we've pulled all this information from the different sources, but you're absolutely right. Don't go into this presentation pretending you know everything. You're now meeting with the decision maker, and there should be enough air in this presentation for them to talk as well.
And I think some things to keep in mind is this presentation is a confirmation of a conversation. Everything that you've talked about is in the presentation. Opposite of that, nothing is in the presentation that you have not talked about. In most cases, not most cases, in some cases these days, salespeople will reveal the price in the presentation, in the proposal, which automatically triggers a reaction from the prospect that says this costs too much, or we didn't think we were just going to spend this much.
Yeah.
But in
I
reality, the
don't
price
think
should
we're
have
at
been
that
talked
point
about.
in this presentation. Do you? We're still in the solutions side. Are we going to be able to work together?
Yeah, and maybe that's separate from a presentation. I think, but too often salespeople end up really creating their own objections by withholding information and then doing a presentation or a quote, and then all of a sudden they get the objection. When
Yeah.
in reality, we should have talked about that before we'd done a presentation or a proposal.
Well, I think that also we need to know. I like to call it the ballpark figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're thinking this is a $5,000 solution, and I think it's a $50,000 solution, we better recognize that there's a difference there. If you think it's a $40,000 solution, and I think it's a $50,000 solution, then I think we're close enough that we can have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But you really haven't established value. I know you've talked about this a lot. You haven't established value if there's that much difference between a $5,000 and a $50,000 solution.
Right.
So you've got to establish that value first.
Mm-hmm.
And this business presentation, I think, is part of establishing that value at this new level.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 6, you need to prove business fit prior to product fit.
Sure,
I think that's a similar one that they talked about, relationship built on what you know about them, not what you know about your product. So kind of goes back to point 1.
Yeah. And I think
can we do business together?
We also need to keep in mind that people sell, proposals don't. Salespeople are in the position and the role of still being persuasive and influential and selling the idea, and not putting all the pressure on the proposal to sell itself.
Excellent. Now I have done, I teach presentation skills. And so some of the things that they've done in here are good. Some of those things, I think they've missed the point. So I want to kind of delve into the presentation itself and style and things like that. So they have an effective outline. I think it hits the major points. They keep talking about pages, and I tried to read real closely. Is there a leave behind and then you're using PowerPoint? That's what I would recommend, is that there's a document for them to look at while you're presenting with some kind of a PowerPoint, so that you have 2 things, but people like to have something in their hands that they can keep with them and follow along. So I think that's important. The second thing is, and I thought this was crucial, they talk about developing a narrative. Don't just go on point, fact, supposition. Have a narrative that they can latch on to, stories, examples, something that gives them a stronger connection than just fact benefit.
Right. Good point.
And then I think what they talk about, when you get into your presentation, all they talk about is bullet points. Only have 3 bullet points, and those are always good, but I've really gone to 1 point with a picture, a graph, or a chart. I think people are visual, and you need to move away from bullet point. Now, there are people that love that, your accountant type, your that personality type, but most people don't remember that stuff over and over, but they can remember the pictures, and the pictures can help them to get emotionally involved. So don't just go in with a whole bunch of bullet points. Those are really ugly, old-fashioned, terrible PowerPoints.
Mm-hmm.
And then the biggest thing that I want to talk about is rehearsal. Right. This is crucial. Don't go in thinking you know how to present. If you haven't presented, you've done probably months of work to get to this leader. This is maybe a multi hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even $1 million sale. Get in front of a group of people and do this presentation over and over again until you're good at it, not just until you're knowledgeable.
Right. This is very popular in some of the Eastern countries where they'll spend days rehearsing for a presentation or a negotiation, and they'll go through point, counterpoint. They'll have somebody that'll be on the other side and thinking about what the prospect's going to say or what's going to be the objection. And they really work on a good, strong dress rehearsal. And I love that step of really going through with the sales team. If you're going to be working together with a prospect, or if the prospect is going to be gathering with the salesperson, or they get together and do a dress rehearsal too on how the presentation is going. So to make sure that everything is brought up and everything is talked about before that commitment is made. And now's the perfect time to do it.
And you're not just the only one learning. That's what's interesting. If you get the whole sales team together to listen to this presentation, they're going to learn how to do a better presentation from it. Everyone's going to learn through this practice. You're going to learn all kinds of things that you've missed about the client because you've assumed so many things. When we get into a sales process, we start to forget things because they're so obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put somebody in the room with you and you say, listen to this, they'll go, hey man, you missed a bunch of stuff.
Right.
This didn't connect
Very
here
normal
for me at all.
Right.
And you're thinking, oh my gosh, I just made the connection in my mind. I didn't make that connection for the customer for real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. The dress rehearsal over and over again is valuable. And then you actually get better, and everyone learns by doing the dress rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the final point I want to make on this before we move on is that you do not become a better presenter by reading a book.
Right.
I have read 1,000 presentation books because that's what I do. Never got better at it. Got good ideas that I could use in the presentation, but if I didn't go out and present in front of people, I didn't get better. In order to get better, I would recommend, if you go to church, be a lector or something. Get up in front of a group. If you've got a monthly meeting with your team, volunteer to do a piece of that monthly meeting. You have got to get up in front of people and speak on a regular basis, or you will not get really good at getting up in front of people and speaking on a regular basis.
Yeah, great advice. I have 2 younger sisters. When they were getting to a point of being able to read and they're going to school, I always encourage them, when you get an opportunity to read out loud in front of the class, take it. Your job as a student is to learn. You don't know everything. And if you can get good at reading out loud, that is a skill that's going to help you in your entire life.
Yep.
And you might think that it's embarrassing, but everybody that doesn't do it is not learning. And if you're doing it, you're learning. So get up and do a problem on the board in front of the class, read out loud in front of the class, take advantage of that, because your presentation skills will become sharper.
So I would recommend, if you're not good at public speaking, take some kind of a public speaking course. If you want to know more about it, certainly contact me. It's not even something you can coach. You've got to be in front of a group. So you've got to take a course on this. The second thing I'd say is join some kind of a group, maybe a Toastmasters group, where you're required to get up and speak in front of them every once in a while. Take a course and then find some way to keep it going, but you've got to do it on a regular basis. Now, we did hear from a listener. I want to bring this up because Lori sent us a comment based on episode 436, where we talked about creating rapport. And here's her question. She says, what if the client is a jerk? Seriously, I adore most of my clients and downright love some of them. I create communication marketing that elevate nonprofits. But how can I connect with someone who is just plain mean? He loves our work, in quotes, and continues to hire us, but he is not a nice person. Scott, what was your thought when you read that?
I thought, everybody's fighting a battle that we know nothing about. And this person obviously is disappointed or disgusted with something in their life that's not going right. And they take it out on people that'll listen to them, or take it out on people that will tolerate that type of behavior. And when somebody acts like that, it's like listening to a complaint from somebody, and all you can really do is just listen and not get emotionally involved in it, or feel like they're taking it out on you, but they're just having a bad day, or they're just in a bad time in their life.
Okay, a couple thoughts I had. One, try some of the things that we talked about for developing a friendship. It's harder to be mean to a friend. So see if you can kill them with kindness, as it were. Try to really overdo it. And Scott says if they're a kind of a hurting person, perhaps by developing a friendship, a closer relationship with them, you can overcome some of that. But I do think ultimately you are not a punching bag, and you have got to make a decision whether this person is worth the trouble. Not all customers are worth the trouble. I had a situation where I was dealing with someone who had a client in Asia, and they said they were just terrible to this new salesperson. They were mean to him. They kept beating him up on price. And finally, I said, why don't you fire them as a customer? And so the sales manager went over to Asia, had a meeting with this person, and brought all their records and said, we're going to let you go as a customer. He said, you can't. I love your product. And the guy said, well, if you love our product so much, here's the rules. Mm-hmm. Number one rule, you can't beat up our sales guy all the time because he's not going to work with you. And number two, you're going to pay the price that we require. So sometimes customers deserve a hassle price. They don't pay what everyone else pays. You want to be a pain? You want the best labor? You want our best work all the time? You want to be mean to us? Then this is what you're going to pay for it. One of the luxuries I have as an independent contractor, I just don't call back those people that are mean to me. But if you've got someone who is really terrible, either try to help them get better. If they don't get better, consider firing them.
Good advice. Refer them to somebody else.
That's right. Give them to your competition. Let them deal with them.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Lori, that was helpful for all of you. And certainly we do welcome your questions. Go to getinthedoorpodcast.com, and there's a form there where you can fill out a question. Another thing you can do on that form is you can sign up for our book giveaway. We do, as I said, have a couple more copies of Beyond Selling Value, and then we also have another book by the same authors that we'll be giving away 7 or 8 copies of that as well. They were very kind to us. Our book giveaway winner signed up by contacting us on LinkedIn, and that is Brett Cooper. Brett Cooper is our winner this week, and we'll get that book out to him. And so I just encourage you to sign up at getinthedoorpodcast.com.
Our next book that we're going to be covering is Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And I think this was created or written in the 30s, Bill. Is that a pretty accurate memory?
I'm thinking more the 50s, because I know he starts out by talking about guided missiles. So
I'm
thinking a little bit later than that, but terrific book. So this was one that Scott and I agreed on, and it's a little bit of a mind bender, but once you get into it, you'll understand the power of goal setting, right?
Right. And also just dealing with some of the head trash that we carry around. And there's been different variations of this book by other authors too. I think they've kind of expanded on it. But Maxwell Maltz, Dr. Maxwell Maltz, is the author of it. And I purchased this book, I got to think, back in the 80s. So I've got that version from there, and it's got all my highlightings in it. And it's just a fabulous book. It talks, I think Dr. Maxwell Maltz was a plastic surgeon, and he realized that when he worked on people, they did not become happier because they looked better. And it was all based in what's in their mind and how they really feel about themselves and the inner belief system.
Yeah, he was one of the first ones kind of talking at it from a scientific standpoint, not just from a think positive standpoint like Norman Vincent Peale did. His was more from a theology background, whereas Maltz is more from a science background.
Yeah. So pick up that book and join us for the book study.
That's about 3 weeks away. I think there's 14 chapters in the one, so maybe 3-4 weeks away. So we'll keep mentioning that.
This segment of Get in the Door podcast has been brought to you by The Art of Prospecting, your guide to getting in the door by Steve Kloida.
Steve Kloida was known internationally for increasing salespeople's ability to make solid appointments with qualified prospects. You too can learn this essential skill by ordering a copy of his superb book, The Art of Prospecting, your guide to getting in the door. In this book, Steve shares the top strategies and tactics he has developed, implemented, and personally tested with more than 1 million sales and prospecting calls. You can get his book on the website, theprospectingexpert.com. In addition, check out his other great online resources. Instant Sales Coaching, which will guide you through 5 online success modules. A guided prospecting process entitled Call Reluctance Transformer, and the Magnetic Selling Strategies Workbook, a detailed step-by-step guide to increasing your sales. Get any of these valuable resources at theprospectingexpert.com.
So our topic today is on goal setting, and now I think is the time of year. And as I was preparing for this, I noticed that there were a lot of emails, a lot of blogs, a lot of other people that are talking about goal setting. So it's the time of the year where we can look at the past and go, geez, 2020, it's kind of like a bent nail. What do I do? Do I try to straighten it out or pull it out or whatever, and just work on getting a new nail and figuring out things that I'm going to do different, things I'm going to focus on differently in 2021. And going through goal setting is really, I think, understanding what's most important in your life. Where do you want to trade your time? I think every day we trade our time for something that we want to return on. And if we're making good trades, we're getting a good return. If we're making bad trades, then we're making a terrible return. And I don't think we're going to be happy with that. So if we look at, I think there's goals and their outcomes. And once you have a goal, you can create levels of outcomes to measure your success. So an outcome is a sign of how you're doing so far. And if we can look at changing our behavior, I think we're going to be changing the outcome. And I think taking a step back, if we can look at our beliefs that control our behavior, we're going to get obviously a different outcome.
Yeah, I think that behavior changing is so important, Scott. What do they say? The definition of insanity is doing things the same way and expecting different results.
Yeah.
You have got to start doing things. I have got to start doing things in a different way in order to achieve what I want to achieve. If I could have done it with the same process, it would have worked this year.
Right.
So something in your process is going to have to change in order for you to hit the goals that you have.
I really believe that you and I are in the behavior modification business. We work with salespeople, sales leaders, sales managers on modifying the behavior, and then obviously getting a different outcome because of that.
Well, that's why the coaching has become so important. As I've gotten longer and longer in this process, I used to think that training would do it all. If I just told them what to do and gave them a chance to try it out, they just go out and do it. But I find that it's so easy to fall back into our old habits. So I would recommend, if you really want to make a change this year, look into working with a coach. So Scott and I are certainly available with our Jumpstart program or someone else, but do something different this year to push you in a new direction, because you really need to modify those behaviors, and those behaviors are well ingrained into what you do.
And there's different areas that we want to work on too. I mean, think about they call it a life wheel. I think most of us have seen this life wheel where we look at our career, our health, our education, our spiritual, different areas of our life that we want to expand on, and then allocate certain time within the week that we're going to commit to those areas in our life. I think setting up goals is really going through the process of change, which is really 4 steps. So the first step is the awareness. You're frustrated. You realize that you're not getting the results that you want. You're asking yourself, what am I doing that I need to stop, or what do I need to start doing that I'm not doing right now? And that maybe is a level of frustration. It's emotional, and I think the process of change is very similar to the process of sales. It's emotionally driven. So we're scratching our head. We're just going, just got to be a better way. And the next step is we get the knowledge and we get the information. Maybe we listen to past episodes of the podcast, or maybe we're going to read a blog or pick up a book or attend a webinar or something and really learn something about the knowledge. And knowledge has a few steps to it. So we get the knowledge. We believe the knowledge will work. So, we really have to be committed to believing that the knowledge will work. And the third part of it is we really have to believe that we deserve a better life. We have to truly believe that we deserve better results. If we don't believe that we deserve better results, we're never going to change. Why? Why would we want to change if we don't believe that we deserve a better outcome? So if we believe we deserve a better year in 2021, we have to figure out, what are we going to be doing different? So we know the knowledge. We believe the knowledge will work. We believe we deserve a better life. And the next step, step 3, is the application. So now we're applying that new knowledge. We're giving it action. And when we get an opportunity, we use it. We apply it, and then we get a different outcome, obviously. And when we continue to do that, we internalize it. It starts to become part of our subconscious.
And I think the biggest step is between knowledge and application.
Definitely.
That is, I call it the 6 o'clock trap. I put this on a clock wheel, and the first 2 steps are, from 1 to 6 o'clock. But at the bottom is that step between knowledge and application. And that's where people fall down. We read a great book, don't do anything different. We go to a meeting, don't do anything different. We listen to a podcast, don't do anything different. And you become what a friend of mine called a good attitude bum. You know everything you should do. You got a great attitude, but you don't do anything different as a result of it. Mm-hmm. And it's the doing, it's the application that Scott talked about that really will help you start to make change. And that's why we talk so much about go out and do something different. Don't just think something different. The thinking is where it starts, but the doing is where it makes traction for you.
Yeah, I think the thinking is then acting intentionally in your behavior. You're doing something intentionally, and it's not just a reaction. It's not just a habit that you're not conscious of. You're acting with intention. And I think that's going to have a direct impact on the outcome, because now you're focusing your intentions on your priorities and your priorities on the goals that you want to achieve.
Do you find that you need to work intentionally until it becomes second nature?
I think it needs to be conscious. You really need to do that and know what you're doing, and not get into this passe of a conversation or an action or a habit and just kind of coasting. Because it's like we do that when we're driving. All of a sudden we go, I got to get there, and all of a sudden we know the path, and all of a sudden it's like, I don't even remember how I got here.
Sometimes I go to the wrong place because I put the wrong programming in, right?
Right, exactly.
Like, wait, I shouldn't have taken that turn. Now what do I do?
Yeah, or we're going to stop on the way to some place, and we never stop on the way because we get so lost in the whole travel.
But I think we do hope that over time, the intentional becomes second nature to us. So I don't want to think when I'm driving about everything I have to do, right? Oh, there's the guy is putting his brake lights on. I think maybe I should start to put my brake lights on. So now I think I need to move my foot off of the gas. Oh, wait, I'm in his rear end already. So I think there's a point where the intentional can start to become second nature, and we don't have to think about everything. I certainly don't want to be thinking about breathing all the time, right? But when I go scuba diving, I think about it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's different. Wow. So I want to get myself to the point where some things are second nature, so now I can work on other new things. And that goes back to your idea of, how many areas can you set goals in? Are you ever concerned about I put down 7 areas I got to set goals in now, and does that hurt my ability to achieve them?
I don't know. I think we get into habits. I mean, if a spiritual growth is one area, you might look at Sundays and go, Sundays is my area of spiritual growth. So that's what I'm going to do on Sundays. And that's what I do if it's health, and you go, I'm going to work out, Wednesday after work or Monday after work and maybe Saturday before noon. Those are, 3 times a week that I'm going to work out and work on my health. So we do get into a bit of a routine, and sometimes those can be healthy habits. Sometimes also routine can be bad habits that we get into also.
All right. Absolutely.
And some of the reasons that people fail, I covered 3 of them. Is 1, they don't have the answers. 2, they don't believe the answers will work. Or 3, they don't believe they deserve a better result. Now, there's 2 more that I think are really important, and we need to be conscious of them. And the 4th one is moving outside your comfort zone may be uncomfortable.
Almost guaranteed to be uncomfortable.
Really. And it's going to be new area but it's exciting. It's really exciting. I mean, cold calling and attempting to talk to somebody that you don't know is exciting. Zip lining can be very exciting. So those are things that are outside of our comfort zone. And if we attach that excitement to it and that thrill of getting outside of our comfort zone, we feel that exhilaration of adrenaline, and we end up becoming a little bit more hopefully joyful about that particular act. And the last one is the fear of success and the fear of failure. It's the same fear. It's getting outside of what is familiar to us. And sometimes the fear of success is stronger than the fear of failure because we don't know what we're going to give up or what we need to give up to get something more. And we end up making trades based on our eating line. We go, okay, I'm at my eating line. This is how much I need to make. This is how much I need to do in order to get what I want. And it's enough to eat in some cases. And if we've got a survivor's mentality, we're going to get to our eating line and we're going to stay there. If we have a thriver's mentality, we're going to move past the eating line. We're going to set greater goals. We're going to look for some accomplishments that we want to achieve. And we're going to make the commitment and dedication to action in order to get the returns of that action to be able to sustain our new goals. But we need to have a thriver's attitude versus a survivor's attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived my life, a large portion of it, with a survivor's attitude, just based on my upbringing. And, through some meetings with some professional therapists, I realized that I have a survivor's mentality. And I got to a point where I said, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm not going to stay here anymore. I deserve a better life. I deserve more. And when I changed my actions, I got better results. It's just that simple. It's not simple. The equation is simple. The process is difficult.
So what is the process for you?
Well, you need to believe you deserve a better life, and you need to set goals in getting something. And it could be a simple goal that is achievable within a short period of time. If you looked at losing weight, you said, I'm going to lose 2 pounds this week. That in most cases is achievable. Now you have to be very committed to it, and you're going to have to manage really 2 things. It's intake, the food you eat, and it's the exercise that you perform. And if you commit to something simple like that and you achieve it, now you've got an achiever's mindset. Now you go, I can do this. And then maybe next week it's 3 pounds that week. And when you set a commitment like that and you focus on it, you're going to manage everything that you do around it.
Do you make the large goal first and then break it down into achievables?
Yeah.
Or do you focus on the 1 pound this week?
I can look at an overarching goal and look at 30 pounds over a period of time, but I'm going to break it down into 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
But also just having the ability to set a goal and achieve it makes a world of difference in how confident we feel in ourselves that we are able to achieve something that we set out to do.
Okay.
It's so easy to get discouraged, and it's so easy to go, well, that's unachievable, or I can't do that, or where's the remote and the chips? Because I want to watch some, Breaking Bad marathon on Netflix or something like that.
Or it's knowing where you fail. Right. Yeah. It's by sitting in front of the TV, knowing that will cause you to desire the bag of chips.
Right.
So don't put yourself into a failure situation when you're trying to accomplish.
And if you say, Monday, Wednesday after work, and Saturday before noon, those are my 3 days that I'm going to be working out. And if it's Wednesday after work and you're sitting on the couch watching TV, that's the day you're supposed to be working out.
That's right.
So you're really breaking that own routine. So if you set a routine, stick to the routine, it's going to make it easier for you to follow that, even though you're not going to like it. But you made a commitment, and once you have that achiever's mindset, it's amazing what you can do. I mean, it really is.
Those first 1 or 2 weeks to get started. If you fail the first week, chances are really good you will not go back to it.
Right. And if it's too overwhelming, you're not even going to start.
Well, that's true too, is that if you don't believe it from the beginning, then you don't start. That's the challenge I think sales managers have. Sales managers, we've talked about this before, they'll set your yearly goal, give you no new tools to accomplish. Bill, you need to do 20% more this year. Okay, Larry, I'll do 20% more. You got it. I'm on the team. I don't believe a thing he just said. There's no way I'm going to hit 20% new sales. And by the way, how am I going to do that? I worked my butt off last year. And Bill, we're going to give you no new product, no new achievement, no new goals, no new this, no new that, no new training. Just go out and get 20% more.
Right. Which says you screwed around 20% of your time.
Well, that's right. That's the assumption. Yeah. Are you raising prices 20%? I might be able to make it then. But,
New territory, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
I've got a 6-step process of making goals, and we can go through each one.
Okay. Well, you talked about the dream, right? First, so you have to want it, right?
Yeah. Right. I mean, you got to think about, and I used to do this. I can't do it anymore, but I used to go to a coffee shop, stare out the window for an hour or two, and just think about what is it that I want, and dream about it. Too often we end up arguing with our own self-conscious, and we end up talking about what we don't want. Well, guess what? Anything that you think about, you end up attracting. So if you're concentrating on what you don't want, your brain cannot separate what positive or negative is. It just concentrates on that one item. So stop thinking about what you don't want.
And put pictures up. Put
Yeah,
pictures
yeah,
up of your goals. You want to go to Tahiti, find a picture of Tahiti and put it up in front of your desk. Put it on
yeah.
your screensaver. You want to have a brand new Tesla? Well, do you have a picture of that Tesla? Have you gone and driven the Tesla? Have you sat in? Have you talked to the salesperson?
Mm,
Make those dreams come alive for you so you increase that desire to do it. You're not going to do it for the dollar amount. You're going to do it for the thing the dollar will buy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what are you going to, is it freedom from ever having to work again? Is it having enough money in the bank that you can start your own business? What is it, your goal? Picture it, live with it, review it all the time.
Hmm. And become familiar with it is really what you're doing, is you're becoming familiar with it. People will gravitate towards what they're familiar with. And think about the people that you end up spending the rest of your life with. Are they familiar to somebody else that you knew in your life? In some cases, they are.
We like the familiar,
Yeah. The next
but
thing
the
is
familiar can keep us down.
exactly.
If we're living in a certain neighborhood and everybody drives the same kind of car and everybody, has barbecues on Friday, we're going to be satisfied with that. Are we spending our time with people who live better than we do in order for us to achieve, if they're financial goals, if they're, as you talked about, maybe faith goals, are we spending time with people who are more faithful than us so that we are pulled up to that level versus spending, if I want to increase my faith life and I'm going to the bars every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon to watch football, probably not increasing my faith life
right. That's a bit of a
because I'm not
stretch.
spending time with people who are faithful.
It certainly makes it harder. I
That's
mean,
right.
and that's not the direction we want to go.
Well,
So,
crabs in a bucket, right? They'll pull you
yeah,
down.
right.
If you're
Exactly.
if you're spending time, if you have a goal in life to achieve whatever, better health, better money management, whatever, and you're spending time with people who tell you can't achieve those goals, you got the wrong group of friends
Yeah.
because they're killing your goals and they're killing your future because they don't want to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Be conscious of it.
Yep. I'm
It's where
sorry,
it
I got you
starts.
off track there, but
No, no,
that's
no.
a
That's all
that's a
right.
big
No,
deal for me.
it's a great example to be conscious of. The next step is the cost, and the cost is determining the price and the people involved, and you need to involve them really at the beginning of the goal setting process and achieving something more. So involve the people in your life. If you want to achieve something and you're part of a family and spending time outside of some of the other obligations is going to have an impact on the family, you need to involve them and involve the people. If it's a financial investment of you wanted to spend money on this to learn this and to get a return on this, you need to involve the people that are going to be part of the change because they need to be able to support you over that period of time, whatever that is. And you want to involve the people that are closest to you to support you and not, as Bill says, crabs in a bucket, pulling you down or guilting you out or shaming you because something changed and there was not a person in your life that agreed with that change.
Right. Let's say you decide you want to go get your MBA, which is going to cost you 2 or 3 evenings a week, maybe all day Saturday for a number of years. I'll tell you what, you talk to people who haven't even gone to college, they're going to continue to beat you up on that dream. And it could be your parents, it could be
Mm,
your siblings, it could be your neighbors who you get together with, and now you're going to not get together with them anymore, and they're going to say, Why didn't you come to our barbecue on Saturday?" Well,
right.
I'm taking a class. You've been taking that class for 2 years. Why don't you quit doing that and come to our barbecue? Or your parents, it's Aunt Maudie's birthday, and you missed it. Well, Aunt
Right.
Maudie's birthday is going to come around again next year. I got something I got to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. Great example. The third step is you have to make a plan. So how will you achieve it? I work with salespeople and I say, what will you achieve today? They go, I'm going to do 30 outbound attempts, 30 phone calls. Great. How are you going to achieve that? Well, I've got the list. I've got the time. I'm allocating the time. I've got the calling guide. I know the people. That's how I'm going to achieve it. And when we think about how we're going to do it, the next question is I'll ask them is what's going to distract you from doing it? And they'll say nothing. I go, something will distract you. I said, let's look at the day and figure out how many calls are you going to make? And if you're not focusing on the calls, what are you doing? That's the distraction. Be conscious of those distractions. So think about a plan, think about how you're going to do it, but also think about the distractions that are going to prevent you from doing it. The fourth step is deciding and make a commitment. Decide to start. Discipline is the bridge between thought and accomplishment. I don't know who said that, but I just, that resonates so much with me is to having discipline. And I think if you have discipline and you have commitment, you own your future. The first chapter in my book, Taking Off into the Wind, is on commitment. And one of the questions that I ask in that chapter is, how do you demonstrate your commitment to other people? Where did you learn commitment, and how do you demonstrate it to other people? You need to demonstrate commitment to prospects every single day. You need to demonstrate commitment to the people in your life that they can count on you. Anybody that is relying on you, you need to demonstrate a certain amount of commitment that they feel comfortable relying on you, and your word is your bond. And if you say you're going to do it, you're going to do it, and you're going to have that reputation of commitment.
Robert Schuller said, beginning is half done.
Yeah.
And so that bridge that you talk about, you can't just set the goals. You have to start doing it right away.
Exactly. The fifth step is review. Measure your results and investment, your time, money, and resources. If there is a better way, consider adapting. You made a goal with the information that you have. Is it possible that new options became available? Is it possible that new information is now available? Is there an app? Is there another resource that you can use to improve the process of achieving your goal? When I sold advertising, I would be calling companies in November, December, January, February, and I'd talk about advertising. They say, oh, we already made our advertising budget, and that's our plan, and we're going to follow it. I said, if there was a better option that came available in the marketplace, would you not want to know about it? If it's going to reach twice as many people on half the amount of investment when it comes to your budget, would you want to know about it? Or if you're just going to drive off the cliff and you're not going to evolve because you're not entertaining any other options, you're going to be wasting money. Other people are going to be taking over the market share, and you're going to be left behind.
And I think in addition to this reviewing of, is it working? I think you need to just get them in front of you every day. It is so easy to forget what your goal was and move on to something else, or get caught up, as you say, in the distractions of the day. Do you have a process where every day you're sticking this goal in front of you and reminding yourself of what you committed to earlier?
Yeah. And the last one is improve. Is there a better way? So review and improve, I think, can kind of go together. And has anything changed since setting the goal? If you're studying for your MBA and you want to start a family, it's possible that family may be started in the middle of getting your MBA. So your priorities have changed.
They can't control that.
Right.
It happens anyway.
So those are the 6 steps when it comes to making goals. I encourage you to spend some time just writing out the plan, thinking about what it is that you want differently in the next year, and then being intentional about your actions to get what you want.
And then I would just say, make it a SMART goal. We've heard that before, but the acronym is specific, measurable, attainable, relatable, and having a timetable. So make sure you put those into that goal setting plan that Scott outlined. One other idea, Scott and I are both involved with a group called PSA, the Professional Sales Association, at psamn.org. On January 8th, we're going to have a meeting with Scott Welly, all about goal setting, daily execution, extraordinary results. So if you want to learn more on that, join us on that. It's free. Go to psamn.org. I do have a little video that you might enjoy on my 2-minute selling tips. It's called By the Numbers, and it talks about breaking down your sales goal to what you need to do to achieve that sales goal. This segment has been brought to you by the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program, presented by the hosts of the Get in the Door podcast.
Business is heating up, and now is the time to get back on the selling track. While others wait for the market to improve, prospects and opportunities await you now. Perhaps you want to be more productive on your prospecting, or you'd like to increase your closing percentage. Maybe having meetings online is not as comfortable as being in person. Sales reps are telling us they need some honest accountability and skill development to rise above the competition. Whatever your reason, this is the perfect time to engage with an experienced sales coach. That is why the hosts of Get in the Door podcast, Professor Scott Plum and Bill Hellkamp, have developed the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. For only $495, you can receive personal coaching from the same sales professionals you enjoy on this podcast. It all starts with a discussion to give us your insights into your specific goals, challenges, needs, and motivation. After your 1-hour online session to jumpstart your coaching process, you will receive 5 more half-hour individual coaching sessions to enable you to make improvements over time and create new habits. Most salespeople make their money back with just one sale. Go to getinthedoorpodcast.com to contact Bill or Scott about the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. Do you believe you deserve better results? Now is the time to invest in yourself and invest in your future.
Our golden nugget today is from Jack Canfield, and he says, don't worry about failures. Worry about the chances you miss when you don't even try.
Yeah, it reaffirms to concentrate on what you want. Like I mentioned earlier, it seems that people attract what they worry about, and they get prepared for it, and it becomes their reality. So be cautious about what you're spending your time focusing on. That's a great quote.
Well, and we worry so much about failure. The other quote I was thinking about, something around failure is not the opposite of success. It is a companion to success. I can't remember who said that. Failure is success's companion. If you're not used to failing, and that's why it's so important in setting goals. Sometimes we don't achieve those goals, but if we move closer to what our goal is, maybe I didn't lose the 30 pounds, but I lost 25.
Yeah.
You look at that as a win and continue to use it to build your self-confidence.
If you're not failing, you're not attempting. You're not trying something new or different. I think that's
what Jack's saying in this.
Yeah. You need to do something that you fail at. Otherwise, you're not stepping outside your comfort zone. So everything that Bill and I talked about will be at the website, getinthedoorpodcast.com. Fill out the form, enter the book drawing. If you're interested in corresponding with Bill or I, you can fill out the form. I encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn. Send us an invite. Tell us you're a listener. I mean, we're getting emails, invites from around the world. It's just really exciting to know what countries are listening to the podcast. So thanks for tuning in.
And send us a question like Lori did. We love to answer those questions that perhaps we missed a spot in our conversation, and you've got an idea that you want to bring up. Next week, Chapter 11 of Beyond Selling Value, called Seal the Deal, the closing presentation. And our topic is handling the big objections. Go out and get better one skill at a time.
Joyful selling.